welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a April reading wrap up. I'm going to include 2 books that I read from March just because I want to throw those in there. But I don't know if the title of this video will be my March plus April reading wrap up or just April. So if you see that it's just April, just know it's just only because I have 2 books I want to talk about that I read in March. But yeah, it's mainly all of the books that I read in April. Let's just jump right into the book reviews. I'm going to go from my least rated book to my most favorite book of the month. The first book we're going to talk about that I read in April is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I gave this 3.75 stars. The writing in this book was really good. I felt like I read this at the right time because if I read this at the wrong time, this book would have put me into a reading slump. It wasn't my favorite book of all time, but it was really cute. We have Linus Baker, who is a caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. He is being sent by the extremely upper management group to a highly classified assignment at this house on the Cerulean Sea that is also an orphanage to 6 dangerous magical children, and Linus's job is to investigate this orphanage, see if the master of the orphanage, who is named Arthur, is actually taking care of these kids, how dangerous these kids really are they a danger to society, and report back to the extremely upper management. This book was very YA. If you guys follow my channel, you will know that I am not the biggest fan of YA books. It takes a lot for me to like young adult books. But this was really cute, very well written. I read this in my 24-hour reading vlog, and in that vlog I did suspect what was going to happen between Arthur and Linus. I thought the children were really, really cute. I think the one that stuck out to me the most was Lucy, aka Lucifer, who is the son of the devil, and he just made really cute comments throughout the books. I would say that this book is a palate cleanser. I saw a lot of people give it 5 stars. That's great. I didn't get a 5-star feeling from this book, but like I said, it wasn't a bad book. I feel like this is a very forgettable book. I'm not gonna lie, but I did give it 3.75 stars. Next book that I read in April was 6 Summers to Fall by C.W. Farnsworth. I read this on Kindle Unlimited. I wanted to give this book a chance because I was in a hockey romance era. I started this book actually in February and I didn't finish it until April. And I wanted to read something else by C.W. Farnsworth because I read Fly by her. This book is about Harper and Drew. Their families both have summer houses on a lake, and Drew is an NHL player and he was the hot commodity back in the day, and Harper always had a crush on him. And then Harper's dad also ends up committing suicide, and she's just in a really weird time in her life, especially trying to cope with her dad's suicide in adulthood. And she goes back to the summer house town, which she never goes because her dad actually committed suicide in the summer house that they own. Harper always had a crush on Drew growing up, but Harper thought that Drew never recognized her. Harper didn't think Drew would remember her until she goes back to the summer town. She passes through the summer town on her way to her sister's wedding, and she sees Drew in the grocery store, and Drew stops her and they rekindle, and Harper doesn't have a date to her sister's wedding, so Drew offers to be her date. We have the fake dating trope, and then we have childhood romance to adulthood in this book. This book I gave 3.75 stars. It wasn't anything spectacular. It's not a book I'm going to remember in the future. It wasn't badly written, and I feel like when I rate books 3 stars, it means someone else can still really, really like the book, even though it's not my favorite. I felt like Harper as a female main character was really annoying. I feel like she didn't have too much confidence, and it kind of annoyed me throughout the book. I also felt like I didn't feel that much chemistry between Drew and Harper. I felt like their childhood flashback scenes, there could have been more of them to support the fact that they're both interested in each other. And then I also feel like there wasn't anything significant in their childhood that happened, and I don't know, I just didn't feel that much chemistry between the two, and I felt like this book was just okay. It was a very predictable book. It was like a fluffy romance book. I would recommend it Just like The House in the Cerulean Sea, I would recommend this as like a palate cleanser type book. I just finished this a couple of days ago, and this is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. I love The Handmaid's Tale. I've never read it, but I do love the TV show. Trigger warning, it's a very traumatic TV show. The Handmaid's Tale is basically about this patriarch society takes over the United States, and this new nation is called Gilead. And Gilead is basically a very, very, very far right-wing conservative group that has patriarchy ideals, and the birth rate is declining in the United States, and this society feels like men should be in control. And so they take over the United States, and again, they're super religious. Everyone has to believe in God. They have to live by men. Men hold all of the power in the society. We have wives, we have handmaids, and we have the children of these wives or these handmaids. The handmaids are these women who have sinned in their previous life to Gilead, and to atone for their sins, they have to become handmaids, and they have to serve wives that can't have children and their husbands, aka the commanders. And commanders are basically the men who are in power of this society. These handmaids are put through horrible, horrible things, and they're obviously forced to have children and to have sex with these men. And it's a horrible, horrible TV show, honestly. But the reason why I'm reading The Testaments is because The Handmaid's Tale didn't really conclude the way that I wanted it to, and it didn't have all of the answers. So I was hoping to read The Testaments, and I decided to buy this book recently because The Testaments actually came out on Hulu, but I'm not sure if it's going to get a second season or not, and I just really want to know how The Handmaid's Tale ends. The Testaments is just the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, and I don't really want to like go into too much detail in case anyone who's watching this video wants to either read The Handmaid's Tale or watch it. I gave this book a 4.25 stars. I feel like I like the direction that the TV show is taken more than I like the direction that the book took. I feel like they're going to end very similarly, but in the show, something different is happening than what I read in the book. And I really like the take that the TV show is taking. I really hope that The Testaments gets a second season on Hulu because I really want to see how the TV show would end the series. I wasn't completely fulfilled, again, with the way Margaret Atwood ended the whole Handmaid's Tale / The Testaments. But overall, it was a really good book. Another book that I just finished was Still Beating by Jennifer Furtman. This is a dark romance book, and I rated it 4.25 stars. This is about Dean and Cora. Dean and Cora are childhood enemies. They do not like each other even in adulthood. Dean is engaged to Cora's sister, Mandy. Dean and Cora get kidnapped by a serial killer, and they find love trying to escape the serial killer and all of the traumatic events that happen between them. And after escaping this serial killer, they have to heal and deal with all of the events following what happened in the basement of that serial killer's home. And I really liked this book. I felt like their romance was it was based off a trauma bond, obviously, because they get kidnapped by a serial killer. But I feel like the author made it so that they had chemistry before getting kidnapped by the serial killer. And I felt like even with the flashbacks, I felt like there wasn't a strong enough connection. And I don't know, I didn't like how their relationship formed off of a trauma bond. It hooked me right from the start. I didn't expect the trauma to start in literally chapter 3. Chapter 3, they're already kidnapped by the serial killer. So this book starts off really fast paced. But yeah, it was a really good book. I didn't give it 5 stars. I was really hoping it would be a 5 stars just because the concept of this book is very original. I've never heard of anyone writing about a romance following them being kidnapped by a serial killer. I've never read anything like that. So I was really hoping it was going to be a 5 stars, but a 4.25 stars in my book is still really, really good, and I would recommend this book. The next 2 books I read in March, and these are both 4.25 stars, but they're 2 books in the same trilogy, and that is Insatiable and Voracious by Lee Rivers. This is a dark romance series. I rated both the first and second book 4.25 stars. I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked this trilogy. I will say I am on the 3rd book. I am not a dark romance girly whatsoever, but I feel like I liked this series as opposed to most dark romances because I truly believe that the male main character wasn't toxic or isn't toxic in the Edge of Darkness trilogy. We have Stacey Rhodes and Cade Mitchell. Stacey and Cade they're going through a lot, actually. When you start off Insatiable, they are not on speaking terms. They are exes in present tense who haven't spoken in 2 years, but they had a really, really good relationship as teenagers. And throughout the book of Insatiable, you find out why they're not on speaking terms, and it's a very emotional time. And I just love how in Insatiable you get flashbacks between Cade and Stacey and how their relationship developed. And when you find out why they're not talking 2 years later, it's just devastating. I'm giving it 4.25 stars because there's a big miscommunication trope. I really don't like miscommunication tropes because if they just talked it out, things would be fixed between the 2 of them. And I'm also giving it 4.25 stars because there's a little bit too much of smut in this book. I am a fan of smut, but there was just way too much in both book 1 to book 3. Actually, I'm on book 3 now, and it's like, okay, I've read enough. It's literally almost on every page. But that is who Cade and Stacey are. That is a big part of their relationship, I guess. If you want to read about a male main character who is absolutely obsessed with the female main character and will do anything for her, I definitely recommend the Edge of Darkness trilogy. The last book I read in March was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is Haymitch's story from the Hunger Games. I also was expecting this to be a 5 stars, but I gave it a 4.5. I couldn't give it a 5 stars. This is going to sound so stupid, but I couldn't give it a 5 stars because, like, we all know what happens. Like, obviously, Haymitch wins his games, and everything that thought was going to happen happened. Not wait to see the movie this November. I'm so excited to see how this plays out in film. It was really interesting to read about the arena and everything that happens in Haymitch's games, but I do recommend this book. The last book that I read in the month of April was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this 5 stars. I was not expecting to give this 5 stars. I love Ali Hazelwood's writing. She's a previous fan fiction author, and if you guys have ever read a fan fiction, they write a certain way, and I just feel like fan fiction authors get to the point, and the romance is always so good. So I read this for my 24-hour readathon challenge video. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. We have Olive, who is a PhD student, and Adam, who is a professor at the same college Olive attends. Olive is in a little bit of a predicament. Her best friend is dating her ex-boyfriend, and Olive never felt any chemistry between her and her ex-boyfriend, but she knows that her best friend feels guilty about dating her ex-boyfriend. Olive wants her best friend to feel better about dating her ex, so she pretends that she's dating Adam Carlson, who is a professor at the same university, and she goes up and just kisses Adam because she told her friend that she was on a date when she really wasn't, and she panics and kisses Adam Carlson. Adam Carlson is a grumpy professor, and Olive is a sunshine student. I love the grumpy sunshine trope when the guy is grumpy and the girl is sunshiny. Adam surprises her by agreeing to fake dating. And there is something about the way that Allie Hazelwood writes fake dating tropes. I just love the way that Adam Carlson cares for Olive. And there's literally, I think there's only one smut scene in this book. And that's like literally all I needed for that. I just was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked this book. And yeah, I will forever be thinking that this book, 5 stars. Those were all of the books that I read in April and a little bit of March. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and be sure to comment down below what books you guys read in the month of April and what your guys' favorites were. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. I make book content weekly. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.